Boom, bum, 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 bum. But I am
Chashash.
Hashash. What is it?
Concern.
Concern about and about what?
About the possibility of
Blowing the shofar on
being
Shabbos.
on Shabbos.
Okay. Hashash is a concern.
Huh?
Hashash is a concern.
That means, yeah.
Just when they're carrying the shofar and the shoes are on.
Carrying.
All right. As soon as the dummy is ready, we're ready. Yeah?
The machine is good.
Huh?
The machine is working.
Machine is open. As long as it's only the machine is a machine.
Exactly.
The rest of us are human beings.
Exactly.
All right. We are essentially up to in the middle of the page, Gimel, and the light begins with the word the Ayin safe. The basis of what we are going to be discussing is in the Pasuk that the Torah, that when the Torah is described as a derech havaya, a pathway, and translated in functional terms, it means that this is the pathway through which havaya atmos ein soif can be brought down into the world. Please mute your phone. Thank you. So we are going to. So the question is, why is Atmos and Sof need a pathway to come into the world? Atmos is everywhere, and it's Ein Sof, and it's Oir Ein Sof. So to understand it, this is where we came to, and I'm going to start inside, repeating some of the words that we already learned yesterday. We started talking about Lihiyos. Okay, we have the line the Ein Sof Boilam Al De'atelu. Lihiyos Yodua. Being that it is known, the Atzmus Oir Ein Sof Hu Poshut Betachlis. That Atzmus Oir Ein Sof is Poshut Betachlis. The only way to translate it is that it is not knowable to the extreme. There is nothing in it that can be known, that can be identified. And it is above the principle of Hishtalshus altogether. That's what we discussed yesterday, that there is being higher than Hishtalshus and there is higher Migeder Hishtalshus. Higher than Hishtalshus could mean that it is something that is not affected by Hishtalshus. It initiated Hishtalshus. And it itself is higher than Hishtalshus, meaning Hishtalshus means like the principle of chaining, that one chain supports and supplies the other. And this is higher, it has its own source, so to speak. And it's not supported by Hishtalshus. But Geder Hishtalshus means the whole principle of Ishtalshelus, which means that from the perspective of Ishtalshelus, from perspective of that level that recognizes cause and effect, that level is totally in oblivion. And it cannot be related to. And for this we started discussing yesterday. There are certain principles that we need to understand regarding the whole concept of Seder Ishtalshelus and cause and effect. Perhaps we should elaborate on it before we go in, and that way we will have a better understanding as we go through it. There is human communication. Lahadl, there is animal communication. If you hit a dog with a stick, the dog runs away. This was not a means of communication. It is not that the dog recognizes as a result of that it should not be here. The dog remains totally independent of the person that hit it. It runs away because it got hit. There is no communication, there is no bestowing of information, of intelligence. And as a result of that, it recognizes, I don't belong here. Then there is like communication. Lahadl, you teach a child or you talk to a person and says, this should be this way. There, even though one is a teacher and one is a student. And I'm not talking about the depth of the teacher, but I'm talking about the teacher is able to descend to the level of the student. But still, one is a teacher, one is a student. The teacher knows what the student doesn't know, and this teacher has to direct the student in the direction that he has to go. But the way he directs him is that the teacher, as we discussed many times later on, that the teacher puts himself into the student's position and understands where the student is and what the student is able to understand, what the student is not able to understand. And he communicates to the student at that level, so that when the student finally knows what the teacher wants to impart to him, the student himself knows it. And the reason that the teacher was able to impart this to the student is because the teacher himself contained that information within himself, and he was able to impart it to the student. And there is therefore a real relationship. So this is the true union of cause and effect. The teacher is the true cause for the student's knowledge. It was not just, I tell you to know this. That does not make him know it. He presents it to him in a manner, at his level. And this is how he knows. Now, this is a real bestowing, and he is actually giving him. And in order to be able to give him, and for him to receive, there has to be that relationship. The teacher has to possess the seichel of the Talmud. And if the teacher does not possess the seichel, there's no way that he can teach it to him. And therefore the student opens up and is able to receive the teaching. That's what Tevet is Seder Ishtalshelus. Lamayla Seder Ishtalshelus means, yes, that is the source of everything, but it cannot relate to anything that is within Ishtalshelus. And therefore it cannot be the source, it cannot be that which directs, which gives the illumination and the inspiration for the Ishtalshelus. Because the Maimon said the Ishtalshelus is in different realm completely.
Are we saying that there's two pratim? There's one that the cause causes the student to learn, and then there's another inyan that the cause is the mokar has within him what the student gets,
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. The point is that there is real commonality, even though one is a teacher and one is a student. But there's a common ground to which they communicate. L'mayla migeder hishtalshelus, there is no commonality.
And the Malam Ishtalshalus, but not Gather.
L'mayla mishtalshelus, yes, l'mayla mishtalshelus means that there is something that I can give you, but the only way you will get it is if you listen to me. You cannot be the judge on what I'm giving you. But I have something to give to you that you can benefit from.
So there are two problems.
I said in Gather Ishtalshelus,
The Ishtalshalus has both Malas. You have these slapshus, he can teach, and he has within him what to teach. Higher than Ishtalshalus, but not Gather, has within him, but can't give. It has to be just received. He can be mislavish. And Gather, higher than Gather, has neither prat. Doesn't even have within him anything that can be received.
L'mayla mishtalshelus, normally l'mayla mishtalshelus has the source for that which is within hishtalshelus. As we learned later on, that Sevu Kolamin contains the oil of a Malikolam. And that is actually that which gives the Malikolam a real basis for its existence. There is a commonality, even though this is Sevu and this is Malik. But then there is the Atzmus, which is L'mayla migeder hishtalshelus. And there is nothing of a Malik or even Sevu in the Atzmus. Then the relationship, if it were such, it would be similar to the stick on the head of the dog. It's not a communication. Okay. So therefore, if it is L'mayla migeder hishtalshelus, how do you then, this is the proposition here, how do you then bring that Atzmus Soif into the world? And that is ultimately the aim, the goal, to bring Atzmus Soif into the world. This is why there needs to be a special method, a special pathway. There is a pathway to which it can be brought down. This is what we're going to learn. Okay, Atzmus Soif v'poshe b'tachlis. V'hu l'mayla migeder hishtalshelus. So Soif v'makiv, which means that it is Soif v'makiv, it surrounds and klolas ha'yishtalshelus. The entire Hishtalshelus, Meroish Kol Dargin at Soif Kol Dargin, from the topmost level of Hishtalshelus to the end of Hishtalshelus. The Hainu, which means specifically, Meroish is parts of the Ak, from the top of parts of the Ak, of the form of Ak. Ak is Odom Kadmon. And the reason that Ak is referred to as Partsuf, and is to corroborate this opinion that it is Odom Kadmon. The principle of Odom is that there is a structure, starting from Moichin into Midos and into Malchus. This is the principle of Odom. So even though this is Odom Kadmon, it's an Odom at Kadmon, as we will learn, the pristine Odom, but nevertheless there is an element of Partsuf there. And L'mayla mishtalshelus, Meseder migeder hishtalshelus means that this parts of the Ak, ad ragli ho asiya, till the very bottom of asiya, behashvo mamosh, in perfect similarity. equality. If it's in perfect equality, from Adam Kadmon till Masiyah, clearly you're talking about something that is not involved in that process at all. Cannot even relate to this process. And as the Pasuk says, "Umitachas zroyos oilom," that this is Moshe Rabbeinu describing to the Eden what they are, who their mashpia is, and saying where did they get their koyach. So this is the Rechab Shomayim. This is the Hashem who is the highest Shomayim. Umitachas Reis Elam, and at the bottom is Reis Elam, and the powers of the world. The Kulam Shovim Mamash. They're all Mamash in perfect equality. And this is where Eden have a shaychus to. His was high hishtalshalus, and thus, in order to bring about the whole concept of hishtalshalus, who alidei tzimtzum shehoya be'nisoi baru, that came about, that can only have been accomplished to the tzimtzum that took place in the Oir Ein Sof Baru. Directly from Oir Ein Sof, they cannot be hishtalshalus. We're talking about something which is l'mayla megeder hishtalshalus. Shenis'aleim bechinas koyach Ein Sof ubli gvul. What was the tzimtzum other temple accomplished? That nis'alem bechinas koyach Ein Sof ubli gvul. That this bechina, this aspect, that's called koyach Ein Sof. The koyach of Ein Sof, I'll discuss it briefly a little bit. Ubli gvul, and the koyach of ubli gvul was totally nis'alem, was totally withdrawn and concealed. This inyan bechinas koyach Ein Sof ubli gvul in the Oir, we will actually be learning much later, where the Rebbe explains this whole phenomenon, how in Oir there is koyach Ein Sof. But just for the purposes of our current understanding, since we're saying that this is l'mayla megeder hishtalshalus, and what is gather hishtalshalus? There is gather hishtalshalus means kaya, that is in the cause and effect. Cause and effect means that everything that is within the realm of hishtalshalus has a source, has a cause. Where did it come from? It is not a self-contained reality, a self-contained truth. It has truth, but it gets its truth from someplace. It did not make itself. It was made in hishtalshalus. Before this symptom, there was a koyach Ein Sof. Koyach Ein Sof, by definition, means that it does not, as we discussed many times, does not beg the question, where does it come from? This is a primary reality. That cannot be part and cannot be the initiator of hishtalshalus. Because in hishtalshalus, by definition, there has to be the principle of the giver and the recipient. And why is there a recipient? Because the recipient is not primary truth. It has to be made. And in order that the giver should be able to give to that kind of recipient, he has to be able to relate to that type of a presence. And if he cannot relate to that type of presence because he is koyach ein sof, he cannot provide anything for that kind of recipient. So briefly, as of this moment, this is sufficient. That koyach ein sof was nesala, was removed, was concealed. Therefore, and after the tzimtzum, nimshach gilui hakav, then was drawn the kav. And which is called gilui hakav, revealing of the kav, shemimenu kol ha'hishtalshelus, from which emanates and develops the entire Hishtalshelus, Kinoid. So, just to focus in on these words briefly, Shemimenu kol ha'hishtalshelus, from the Kav emanates the entire Hishtalshelus. That is the Kav, the entire Hishtalshelus as it goes through from various levels. This is the Kav. Gilui hakav means that there was a gilui that provides for a kind of a hamshocha that is a kav. And what is hamshocha of a kav? A kav is, as we said many times, it is like multi-pointed. The gilui in the kav is not an overwhelming gilui of oir. That encompasses everything. Rather, it comes in a trickle manner. That's all a kav. Because it comes in a trickle manner, that enables that there should be hishtalshelus. And this is the gilui hakav, revealing elokus, revealing the oyer in a kav form. And this enables hishtalshelus. Yeah.
This term you use, there's a gilui that provides for the hamshacha of the kav.
Nimshach gilui hakav. After the tzimtzum was drawn the gilui hakav. And shemimenu kol hishtalshelus. So we have two stages that are referred to over here. The initial hamshocha of gilui hakav, and then the development of that is kol ha'yishtalshelus. What is the distinction between the kav and kol ha'yishtalshelus? It's one and the same thing. So that's what I'm saying, that the gilui hakav means the initial revelation of an oyer that can be drawn in a kav form.
This is a new, I mean, it's a different, normally gilui of an Indian, it's a lower than the Indian. It's gilui of an Indian. Here, gilui hakav, higher than kav. That's how we're explaining the words.
Well, in order to look at it from that angle, you have to look at it in the following way. Hishtalshelus in general is gilui. That's what hishtalshelus says. Every madrega is a cause for another madrega. That's all in an expressed form. What is the Inyan Nimshach gilui hakav? The gilui hakav refers to that the oyer from which the kav comes is not kav. As we're going to see, and the oil actually comes from the oil that's before the tzimtzum. That's not in the form of a kav. But from there comes a gilui hakav. The gilui that comes from that oil at that point is a gilui, and that's why it enables in Yaakov. Hishtalshelus is the further development of the kav. The kav in general is gilui. V'yisa be'etz chayim. It is found in Etz Chaim the following explanation of the kav. Shehakav hu ke'ein tzinoir echod. The kav, it's an amazing thing how in Kabbalah the analogies are so simple and physical, and then it is our duty to see in it significant ruchnisdike message. It says, that the kav is kein tziner echad. It's like one a conduit. Hanim shech me'er ein sof, that is drawn from the oil ein sof. V'alei zeh al derech moshol, and that is as a moshol k'moi tziner, like a conduit hamkaleach mayim min nohor godel, that flows water from a great river. Sheboy ve'al yodoi. What is the function of this tzinoir, of this conduit? There is water. What do you need the conduit for? The conduit is necessary in order to provide for the following function. Sheboy ve'al yodoi. That in this tzinoir, and as a result of the services of this tzinoir, Nim shahamayim lekelim rabim. The water can be drawn into many multiple vessels. What is the emphasis over here? Kelim rabim. Not that there is a lot of water, but that the water is subdivided into individual kelim, and the kelim remain individual kelim. There is no limit as to how much water you can draw, but you have to draw it in a manner, and therefore you can fill kelim rabbi. No limit, but it has to be in kelim. Therefore, this is the function of a tziner. For if the waters would be drawn from the river itself, then the water, the river water, would flood the kelim altogether. It would provide to all the kelim, but that's not called water in kelim. Water in a keli is only when the keli is outside of the river. If you put a keli inside the river and you say, "Oh, this is water in a keli," that's not water in a keli. It's the keli in the water. Rak, except they don't they create this method of this tziner so that the waters will nimshochem al dei hatziner. The waters are drawn through the tziner, through this conduit. Sheboy misam tzemei hanohor. What does the tziner affect? The water is still there, the same water of the river. But misam tzemei hanohor. The waters of water are contracted, meaning we identify the possibility of limits within the water. And as this water passes through b'shetach ha'oretz, on the space of the land, nimshachim mimenu hamayim lekelim rabim. Then the waters are drawn from this tzinoir to many kelim hanimtzoim svivo that are present around the river, on the ground. Svivo maybe means around the conduit. Ad sheyismalu tomid min hatinel hazeh. So that, because that the source of the water is in the river, which is a limitless source, so even though it comes to the tzinoir, it comes to the tzinoir to serve that it should be able to supply all the kelim. But it supplies the kelim tomid constantly. There is no end, there is no limit. Tomid min hatzinoir hazeh. They will be filled by the kelim will be filled with water all the time, because of this tzinoir. So even though it's filled all the time, it is still water in a keli. The keli does not lose its presence. Okay, this is it for today, for now. Meet him tonight. Okay, regular time. I'm sorry, what? Okay, have a good day. I didn't call to us. Okay.
Did you get my text yesterday?
Your text? I'm sure I get the text.
Okay. No, I just,
No, no, no. No, 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 no. Did it on the down down down, did it on the down down down, did it on the down 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 down. Did it on the no 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 no, did it on the no 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 no, did it on the no 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 no, did it on